A Grand Prix is like a heist. Beating the best riders on the fastest bikes in the world is more than a matter of racing ability. It requires expert teamwork, elaborate preparation, and faultless execution under massive pressure with no margin for error. The race is on Sunday at 2 p.m. The teams arrive on Wednesday. They have 4 days to crack the code of the racetrack and set up the bike for this particular collection of twists, turns, and elevation changes. The riders practice on Friday and Saturday, 2 days to master the track and prepare themselves for racing combat at speeds of over 200 miles per hour on the fastest tracks. There are 17 races on the MotoGP calendar, each at a different circuit, presenting different challenges. The Red Bull US Grand Prix at Laguna Seca is a particularly difficult proposition. Laguna is one of the most technically demanding and physically intimidating circuits on the planet. More than that, this is the first Grand Prix on US soil since 1994. Most of the riders have never been here before. Among the Laguna rookies is one very special Italian, world champion Valentino Rossi, the Doctor as he is known to millions of fans around the world. As of July 2005, the 26-year-old has won 48 Grand Prix and 4 straight world titles in the Premier class. After winning 5 of the season's 6 races so far, he's well on his way to his 5th MotoGP championship and well on the way to sporting immortality. Among those who have raced at Laguna before are 3 Americans looking for their first MotoGP victory. Colin Edwards and Nicky Hayden moved into MotoGP in 2003, John Hopkins the year before. If ever there was a race they wanted to win, this is it. The race before Laguna was at Assen, a classic fast-flowing European track, almost 3 miles long and, this being Holland, as flat as a pancake. It's a place Rossi likes. He's won 3 MotoGP races there, including this one, ahead of rising Italian star Marco Melandri. 3rd place at Assen was Colin Edwards' 2nd podium of the season. Hayden finished 4th, Hopkins a distant 13th, his Suzuki down on power. Hayden's Honda is widely regarded as the best bike out there, but he hasn't made it onto the podium in any of the first 6 races. This is his 3rd season in MotoGP. If he wants to hang on to the top spot at Honda, he needs to start winning. Laguna Seca is the complete opposite of Assen. This is Californian earthquake country. The only flat part of the 2.3-mile circuit is the dry lake bed which gives the place its name, and which contains turns 3, 4, and 11. The other 8 corners follow the contours of the hills around the lake and range from steeply banked fast sweepers to hair-raising blind descents. After Assen, the riders' thoughts turn to the American race. Edwards, Hayden, and Hopkins know Laguna well and have won races here in other championships. At this point, the closest Valentino Rossi has come to it is on a video game at home.
This one is one of the hardest races for me. It's a different type of track compared to all the other tracks. Have a lot of strange points like the corkscrew.
As you climb the corkscrew, it's blind. All you see is the sky.
The corkscrew awaits you at the top of the hill on the south side of the circuit. The corner's blind entry drops into a steep left-right chicane, which looks more suited to downhill skiing than motorcycle racing.
It's a big drop-off. It's like a roller coaster. Once you turn in, you got to have the confidence just to flick it right and wait for the suspension to load up to open the throttle.
That's my favorite part of the track. So much G-force right when you get to the bottom of the corkscrew, and then you just throw it into the left-hander. And the corner's so banked that you can just throw it in there completely hard. You want to stay mid-track, stay as tight as possible coming out of that corner, and then you drop down into the right-hander, that corner as well. From the corkscrew to turn 11 is just an unbelievable sensation.
It's all about momentum from the top of the corkscrew till you put the brakes on for turn 11, keeping your speed up. If you mess up one corner, it throws that whole section off. The last corner, turn 11, is pretty simple. Once you come out, they're really going to want to wheelie. So I'm sure we'll be standing on the rear brake, trying to keep the front wheel down so we can open the throttle.
You know, everybody talks about the corkscrew and how it's the masterpiece of Laguna. Honestly, turn 1 is a hell of a lot more scarier than the corkscrew.
Turn 1 doesn't look like much of a corner. At over 150 miles an hour, it is.
Corkscrew, you're only in second gear. Up at turn 1, you're fifth tapped.
If you want to touch the rear brake, it keeps the G-force onto the front end, keeps the front wheel down. Coming up over the hill, you're going to want to pick it up and let it run all the way out to the white line at the edge of the track while braking. And it takes years of experience to get to the level where you can actually feel the front end and know exactly the fine line between keeping it upright and sliding the front end.
Turn 3 catches a lot of guys off. I'm no different. It's so flat.
You really have to rely on your front end. That's going to be where you want the best setup possible for the front end and have as much feedback from it as soon as it slides out.
It's pretty open on the way in, then gets tight as you exit, so that's what makes it tricky. Turn 4 is really fast. That's where you make your time in the fast corners. Turn 5 is a good one. There's a couple of different lines in there. A lot of guys brake a little bit early and try to set themselves up for a good drive up the hill, and it's a really good place to pass. Turn 6, that's when it starts happening.
I've crashed there a couple times while testing. It's a very difficult corner. You know, you think it's a lot more banked than it actually is. You're carrying a lot of speed into that corner from that little short straight you have. It's very important to get the best drive possible coming out of that corner, so you want to have the thing upright as soon as possible, driving up the hill.
When you get to the bottom of the dip, it fully loads your suspension, and then it unloads right as you're trying to accelerate, so there's no weight on the rear wheel.
Turn 7, going up over the hill into the short left-hand kink, you've got to know exactly where you are on the track. It's very easy to just run wide and run straight off the track.
Laguna is everything from fourth gear corner.
I'm for Formula 1, but I can tell you this track here definitely wasn't designed on any computer. It wasn't designed by a guy sitting in an office in a chair. It's a real racetrack with real character.
We live with these people. I see these people more than I see my family. Big Jeffrey. Come boy. Howard?
Okay.
You're good. You all right? Tom?
All right.
Yeah, not bad.
Wednesday, we spend all the morning to set up the garages. So in the afternoon, we start to do a little bit of work on the bikes. The crew chief with the engineers, they started to make a technical plan.
Each MotoGP team consists of a group of highly skilled specialists with clearly defined roles. They figure out the track together, set up the bike together, work hand in glove for 4 days until 2 o'clock on Sunday. Then it's all down to the guy on the bike.
We got a couple of rocket scientists in our team. They process the information. It's up to the rider really to kind of ask what he wants with the bike, but at the same time, if your data guy sees anything or your crew chief sees anything funny on the data, he can ask you, hey, or, you can't quite get it to full throttle in second gear. Does it have too much power or too little power? We can do this, we can do that, and it's definitely a team effort.
Like a pyramid, you've got the rider on the top, and
a lot of slaves underneath doing a lot of work, and they have their individual goal of winning the championship or winning the race, and they get the full support of the immediate team and the engineering group all the way back to Yamaha in Japan.
We got some old data from Noriyuki Haga on the Yamaha and some of what I remember back in the Superbike days, and we kind of put all that together. At least it'll give us a ballpark to start from.
When we are in a new circuit, we try to guess with some simulation programs and try to find what can be the gearbox and what can be the setting. So by Thursday night, the bike is ready to go.
What is a MotoGP bike? The rules of the sport will tell you that it's a prototype with a 4-stroke engine, cubic capacity of 990 cc, minimum weight of 148 kilograms, maximum fuel load 22 litres. A MotoGP bike is a purebred race machine. Every other form of motorcycle racing, superbike, supersport and so on, is based on production bikes, the kind that you can buy from your local dealer.
They got an exhaust gas. Yeah. The same thing with the lever, see? Yeah, titanium, carbon fiber, temperature sensors on it.
The only people in the world that ride a bike anything like this is myself, Kenny, and 2 test riders. Everything on the bike is nothing like a street bike. Everything's carbon fiber, titanium, some steel bits for strength. Everything is the lightest yet strongest possible metal. Not only are you always testing the limit with the riders and finding the limit with your riding, but also Suzuki, all the other manufacturers are also finding the very, very limit of what they can actually use as far as light and durability. I never try and get into detail about how the bike works and how it all reacts. I just tell exactly what I feel. Like if I'm going into a corner and the front just starts to slide a little bit and I know that I could go faster in that corner, that's when I come in, talk to the crew chief. The bike's sliding here, it's doing this, doing that, and it's his job to get on the computer, analyze it, and then make the changes.
As far as the teams are concerned, a MotoGP bike is a practical object, a multi-adjustable tool for winning races. You can change the suspension, the tires, the gears, the chassis, the engine, the electronics, download data from dozens of onboard sensors, monitoring pitch, lean, clutch pressure, brake pressure, throttle opening, suspension travel, gear position, wheel speed, engine braking, traction and grip. In a sport where victory can be measured in thousandths of a second, everybody involved is always looking for an advantage in every possible area. The bike is constantly evolving. The development and manufacturing costs run into tens of millions of dollars per year.
The development's ridiculous. How far these bikes have came in just the last year. Now we have so much power, and a lot of it's down to tires and electronics with fly-by-wire and traction control and all this stuff. Now that's the great thing about motorcycles. At the end of the day, it's still the dude sitting in the seat who wants to twist the throttle the hardest.
I love that smell. Yummy. It's the Bayless. How you doing, lady?
How you going?
Right?
The Yamaha shot.
You like that old style? How's it going, all right? You just get in?
What's up, Rick? Oh, Barney, my man, what's happening?
It feels good to be back, see all my old people, and just hanging out. I mean, I love Laguna, and the weather, the people, everything about it feels right. Well, that sound gives me goosebumps. I don't know about you, but still love the sound, the smell that you get at the track.
Big Hofmeister.
Huh? Hey, this track's gonna be the first time we went over the car, it's like over there, and you go up to Corkscrew. Where is it?
Whoa, straight down.
And you're gonna take off.
I know, going up the hill.
Yeah.
Valentino Rossi is the biggest star motorcycle racing has ever seen. A once-in-a-lifetime combination of talent and charisma, adored by fans all over the world. Rossi races motorcycles because he loves to, not because he needs to. He is one of the 10 highest-paid sportsmen in the world, around the $30 million a year mark, with the likes of David Beckham and Kobe Bryant. Unlike Rossi, they don't put their lives on the line every time they play a game. At 10:30 on Friday morning, the track is open for the first MotoGP practice session. So far, the riders have only been able to look around it on foot or on scooters. Reactions have been mixed. To the Americans, this is home. To the Europeans, it's a bit of a shock.
It's an old style track, different than the normal. European track. I prefer the other track, the more normal style, but it's for sure something different.
Laguna Seca was built in 1957 to host the Pebble Beach road races, part of the Concours d'Elegance Rally, which is still held each year in the town. The races initially took place in Pebble Beach itself. Spectators lined the road as the cars tore past a few feet away. In 1957, one of the drivers hit a tree and was killed. They needed a proper circuit.
The guy that gets credit for this is a guy named Lou Gold. He didn't even drive. He was a bartender, head of the Bartenders Union, very community-oriented, and he realized that this should stay, that this Concours d'Elegance at Pebble Beach is where he worked, was important. So we got to keep the racers here.
The track was funded and built by the Sports Car Racing Association of the Monterey Peninsula. Scramp wasn't actually a racing club, but a volunteer group of businessmen keen to promote the sport for the good of the local economy.
Non-racing people came out here and by accident found this place. It was part of a military reservation. It was part of Fort Ord. And they got a contract to build a racetrack out here. The general said, okay. Corps of Engineers said, sign here. Here's the deal. Thank you. And that was it.
The design of the track was overseen by an architect from Salinas named Wallace Home, who had never designed a racetrack before. His original plans called for the entire circuit to be laid out around the lake bed.
He wanted to put the track inside the hills so you could see it. A local engineer and his tractor driver came out. The guy in the tractor said, I can't turn that sharp. So they decided to go around the back. That's why they went around the back, as simple as that. The whole thing just happened.
The track was an immediate hit with the racers.
It was a driver track. They had to work hard at it. There was a challenge to drive the car. My car might not be quite as good as yours, but I might still beat you because I'm a better driver. There was merit to that. They liked that.
The only major change to the layout was made in 1987, with the addition of turns 3 and 4. Work began the day after Pope John Paul II said Mass on the same piece of ground.
Right behind me, where the lake is down there, the Pope said Mass right there because he was making a tour of the United States. They put grandstands and they had roughly 50,000 people. And the very next day, we tore the track apart. We started digging it up so we could put that 3/10 of a mile in so that we would qualify for World Motorcycle Racing. It was not for cars, it was for motorcycles. It was only 1.9 miles originally. Now it's 2.3.
Since then, the most significant modifications to the track have been safety measures to accommodate ever faster race machines. In the months before the Grand Prix, millions of dollars have been spent and thousands of tons of earth moved to create larger runoff areas around the circuit. When things go wrong on a motorcycle at high speed, you don't want to hit anything. Nakano suffered no serious injuries. A week after this crash, he finished 6th in the Catalan Grand Prix.
Yeah, on a MotoGP bike, it's going to be pretty gnarly, no doubt. I mean, there's some places around here that it's going to be really tough, like especially the corkscrew and also coming down the hills. Turn 1, definitely a few places separate the men from the boys.
We need to improve a little bit the safety for sure because our bike are very fast.
I'm all for safety and making it better, but I mean, I feel comfortable here. This is the kind of tracks I grew up on.
I've heard a couple of the guys are still complaining about a couple of little minor areas. Yeah, they're complaining already. That's good. I'll just psych them out.
First practice on Friday is normally a 1-hour session, but it's been extended to 2 because this is a new track for MotoGP. The teams will have a total of 5 hours and 20 minutes practice. 2 hours on Friday morning and 1 in the afternoon. an hour on Saturday morning and 1 in the afternoon, and 20 minutes on Sunday morning. Between now and Sunday, the teams have to get the bikes set up as perfectly as possible for Laguna.
The first session, starts out pretty wide, getting comfortable on the track and getting the transmission right, finding out what gears you're going to run and which corners, and then suspension, and then tires.
For Valentino, the first laps is to get familiar with the track, to see how it is, to see where the bumps are or where is the difficult point.
We start to understand a little bit the track. For sure is very particular for a driver to ride well the bike.
Laguna is a bumpy circuit coming out of the bottom of a hill. You got a lot of G-force and it's a really, really bumpy corner. It makes things a lot less physically demanding if you know where the bumps are going to be.
The whole key in Grand Prix at the moment, you have to get the bike set up to suit you and be 100% comfortable on it. You explain in as much detail as possible what the bike's doing and let your engineers figure it out.
In this, Valentino is very, very good, very precise, very sensitive on riding the bike. Technician can get very good feedback.
Right there is the biggest issue.
What's going on there?
Getting in there, it's just the feeling and confidence in the front.
What's the engine braking doing there?
I mean, the engine braking feels pretty decent there.
Okay.
There's a bit of a fucking nasty bump just to the wrong side of the white line there.
Well, the most important thing at Laguna is to keep the bike on the ground. The track goes up, down, there's blind rises, there's not that much grip, the track's a bit dusty, so keeping the thing bolted to the floor and keeping it stable so the rider has confidence is the most important thing.
Quite often I'm watching on the circuit, particularly when it's a new track like here at Laguna Seca, to see what other riders are doing. It's not just about the bike setting, they've got to ride it properly as well.
Just listening to them, but the Yamahas are getting like much short gears and that's like bar. They're getting to the top. Honda's fifth as well.
I wouldn't think they're using a 6-speeder.
Check again. Rossi sounded like he was using more gears.
Valentino and I had different gearing. That's just from experience. I've been there, in superbikes for a few years. I know what gears I need to be in, and I came in 10 minutes after Friday practice and said, okay, second gear needs to be longer, third needs to be a little shorter, and fourth needs to be this,
His speed's very good over the top.
Yeah, I mean, that's all about stability. Getting over the top
As he
there.
turns.
Yours increased quite a lot.
Yeah, just found a really good line. Maybe a little bit high.
I don't think any rider ever looks happy in the garage, You always want something better. You always want to improve it, and I think, I'm never going to have a big smile on my face until the bike's perfect.
He's got quite an aggressive riding style, and he likes to get the back sliding a little bit. We'll probably end up with slightly harder rear springs and things like that than other guys would run. It's probably a little bit harder on rear tyres occasionally, but Michelin generally have enough constructions and compounds that they have something that works well for him pretty much everywhere we go.
That tire's a lot better.
Usually we bring 5 different rear tires and 2 different fronts.
It's not just a harder tire or a softer tire. It's different construction and a dual compound, harder on the right, softer on the left.
A 325-pound MotoGP bike puts out close to 250 horsepower, a respectable amount for a car weighing 10 times as much. The rider has to apply that power to the track through a tire whose contact patch is about as large as a credit card.
The contact patch area of a tire really varies on the load you put on it. At maximum speed, more than 300 km per hour, more than 80% of the load is on the rear tire. So it means that the contact patch for the rear going to grow up. Opposite for the front, because you've got less load on the front, so the contact patch at the front is going to decrease. When you're at maximum lean, the contact patch size is smaller. Basically, the contact patch is getting smaller and smaller until you crash.
It's easy enough to find a tire which gives good grip, but there's always a trade-off between grip and durability. You have to choose a tire that will last the race distance. The tire maker's goal is to make the tire as sticky as possible and just durable enough.
We try to make it last only the race distance. So if at the end of the race, analyzing the tire, you would feel that it could have done 2 or 3 races in a row, then we're going to feel we've missed something.
Choose the wrong tire, and it can spell trouble late in the race as the rubber degrades.
That's when the tires get real loose and everything turns into jello. It's pretty much the bike goes from being completely on rails to being loose and on jello.
MotoGP sees competition between tire companies as well as between riders, teams and bikes. Michelin supplies the tires to Honda and Yamaha, Bridgestone to Suzuki, Kawasaki and Ducati. They bring new types of rubber to every race. The tire that wins this weekend will be history in a couple of races' time.
There are 3 big factors of the tire: the shape and construction and compound. We change everything, especially material of the compound and the material inside of the tire. We change a lot. If you look from the outside, black and round is no different, but the inside is completely different.
That last change in tire were better.
Okay.
The biggest thing still is in corner exit, you're trying to spin. Does yours feel like that?
John Hopkins' teammate at Suzuki is Kenny Roberts Jr. The 31-year-old Californian beat Valentino Rossi to the World Championship in 2000, Rossi's first season in the Premier class. Roberts won 3 Grand Prix that year, but hasn't won since. Rossi's dominance coinciding with difficult times for Suzuki's MotoGP project.
The Cowie is hitting those corners and stand and getting away. And like I can maybe go in with him, but I won't be able to get on the throttle at the same time. So therefore I got to go in a little bit easier. So
all those corners, those flat corners.
Yeah, because if you miss the exit, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Teammates may share information, but they're still in competition with each other. Out on the track, it's every man for himself.
This track's quite difficult to set the bike because you have very flat corners. You need grip and fairly compliant suspension. And then the corners after that have got banking and big dips in the middle, and the suspension's are a lot more compressed and loaded. And you need the suspension to support that kind of load, particularly as you dive through the dip into the corkscrew.
It's going to happen to somebody at some point. There's a lot of G-forces coming off of the bottom of that corkscrew. The bike compresses and then there's nothing left. It hits the stops, swings it out to the right. You're always wanting more, and sometimes it ends up throwing you over the top. That's a hard crash. Good thing he wasn't hurt.
Several of the teams have new engine parts to test. Suzuki in particular is looking for improvements.
We need more power.
At the very beginning of the straightaways where we lose most of the time, right when you're getting it up off of the corner and really putting the power to the ground.
With Yamaha, I'm finding that's where they're so good, is they're giving you good pieces. Everybody looks at JB and Rossi and my team, and realistically, you have to thank the guys that are behind the scenes and say, wow, they're giving us the good stuff.
The process of developing and optimizing the bikes goes on all year round.
Here we are at the airport again. Seems like we spent a lot of time here.
In mid-January, the teams embark on a series of tests in Asia, Australia and Europe.
Malaysia, Australia, back to Malaysia. From there we go to Japan. We'll be testing probably 20 days before the start of the season, and even the day after the first race we'll be back testing Monday morning. I mean, those are the hard yards. That's where you really come together with your team and find out everything you want to develop the bike.
With 17 races and as many as 10 tests each year, the teams spend about 100 days at circuits around the world and 50 days traveling between them. The riders cover thousands of miles on track. Whether they're racing or testing, every lap is a fast one. It has to be.
Unless you're going race pace, you're really wasting your time and just wearing out the equipment. So it's intense.
I'm not a techno geek type guy, but I do like to work. I like to go to the track. I like to go testing, and I like to play around with suspension stuff and electronics and tires, and I do it for information. The more information you gather, the more you have to put into use down the road. I really enjoy that.
Throughout the weekend, the staff of Race Control monitor the track action on closed-circuit TV. They're in contact with marshals and medics stationed around the track. Laguna's on-site medical center is ready to provide immediate treatment to injured riders. For the first hour, Nicky Hayden struggles with the combination of Laguna Seca and MotoGP power.
I was riding around like a squid, you know, way off the marks. I hadn't raced in America in 3 years, and definitely was a lot of hype, a lot of build-up, you know, some pressure. The first session was kind of weird because it's the first track I've ever went back to that I used to ride like 600 and Superbike. When I got there on the MotoGP bike the first session, it just looked so different than what I remembered. All the lines and the straightaways felt so much shorter and everything was happening so much faster.
For much of the 2-hour session, John Hopkins and Troy Bayliss dominate the timesheets. Bayliss held the track record prior to this event, which he set in the World Superbike race in 2002, a time of 1 minute 24.8. At 11:25, Hopkins is the fastest man on the track. At 11:27, he's too fast.
It was just a mistake on my part. Just it's a blind corner. You come up over the hill, and you always want to find the limit of where you're at. And just went in there with way too much speed, and I was going straight towards the wall, and I was doing everything I could to get it back, and it just was coming back, and then just smacked into the wall with my elbow. Had cement marks all the way down the side of my arm, and some on the side of the bike, and luckily was able to bring it back onto the track. Fuck, that was close, man. Man, I came inches from the cement. Yeah. Fuck.
At the end of the first practice session, Troy Bayliss is fastest, the first to break his own lap record. Nicky Hayden is second, and John Hopkins third. Colin Edwards and Valentino Rossi are fifth and sixth, behind Spanish star Seti Gibernau. At 2 o'clock, the riders are out on the track again. It's becoming clear that Laguna is, above all, a test of riding ability. The bikes have so much power, there's a limit to what the teams can do to tailor the machine's behavior to this tight, difficult track.
Physics are physics. You can only accelerate so hard to keep the front wheel on the ground, and that's basically what we're struggling with, you know? I mean, you'd like to be able to hit it everywhere, but you can't. You got to keep the front wheel down. So this was a hard part of the track. You'd come out of turn 6. You never get the full throttle all the way up that straight, which it looks like we'd be at full throttle. You just carry the front wheel about half a centimeter all the way up the hill and then just hit it down the backside. If you got it down the backside, then you could keep your momentum going. But if you tapped your wheel on the top of that little rise, then it would screw you all up. So you're trying to get it over to the backside. Just a timing issue.
Carry the front wheel half a centimeter in the air, all the way up the hill at 150 miles an hour, put it down just over the rise. It's just a timing issue. How do you do that? MotoGP is full of people who live and breathe the sport, but hardly anyone can actually do it. One of the first things insiders will tell you is that only a handful of men in the world can master a MotoGP bike. What does it take to do this? How do you become a MotoGP star? One thing that Rossi and the Americans have in common is families with racing in their blood. Rossi's father, Graziano, was a Grand Prix rider himself, and Valentino started racing as a child. Kenny Roberts Jr. is the son of 3 times world champion and current MotoGP team owner, King Kenny. Hopkins' father, Roy, competed in the Isle of Man TT as a teenager. John was racing by the time he was 4. Colin Edwards started riding bikes at 3, but he was trying to get on them when he was 1.
My dad was always a motorcycle enthusiast. He had a supercharged 750 Honda. And I'd disappear and, everybody would be like, where did Colin go? When I was 1 year old, not even be able to walk yet. And I'd be out in the garage up on top of the 750. I was 3.5 when I got my first bike. Did all the motocross stuff.
By the time he was 7, Colin had a motocross contract. At 14, he was ready to quit.
I'd go to school and come home and go ride for 2-3 hours, come back, wash my bikes, clean the filter, wash my gear, get a little bite of food and get 30 minutes of homework in, and it was just a job. I was like 4'11", weighed 80 pounds. I was just a little pipsqueak.
And all these other kids were like 125 pounds with growing beards. They're gonna kill me out there. He said, I better know.
Just when Edwards Sr. thought his son's motorcycle racing career was over, Colin made an important discovery. Asphalt.
Went to the racetrack, and a guy that I used to motocross with, Jeff Covington, he was actually road racing. And I used to beat him pretty readily, motocrossing. And I thought, well, he can do it. I know I can do it.
He was only out there like probably 10 laps. And he came back in and he said, man, this is fun. I can go faster than all these kids that are out here. And I said, I can see that. And I said, do you want to do it? And he said, can we? And I said, hell yeah, we can do it. I didn't know how we were going to do it, but I wanted to race with him. I was always wanted to race.
His dad paid for Colin to race locally in '91. A string of victories earned him a sponsored ride in '92. He was on his way. The 250 National Championship in '92, AMA Superbikes, the top US category, in '93, World Superbikes in '95. He won the World Superbike Championship in 2000 and 2002 and moved to MotoGP in 2003. Along the way, he found his other true love, Alicia.
I met him and he was, in high school and he was like, I race motorcycles. And I was like, get a real job. So it was the typical high school drama. You thought, oh, I'm so in love and I can't live without him. But it was true love. We've been married 6 years, but together I think 15.
There's a theory that when you get married and have children, you slow down.
Now they say when you get married, you lose half a second. When you have a kid, you lose half a second. Each kid's half a second. I got married in '99 and I won the championship in 2000. Found out my wife was pregnant the beginning of 2002. And then went undefeated after that and won every race and won the championship again. So, okay, yeah, you think about your wife and kid, but at the end of the day, that guy in front of you is the guy you want to beat. And you're going to do everything in your power to pass him. The last thing on your mind is what's back at home or what's waiting in the motorhome. You say, ooh, I'm hungry.
In 2005, Edwards is with Yamaha, where his teammate is a certain Valentino Rossi, a man he has yet to beat on the track.
For me to say Valentino is quite special is something I've never said about anybody, because I always believe that I'm better and stronger than anybody. But when facts are facts, you got to face the facts sometime. From Agostini to Kenny Sr. to Doohan and Rainey, and I think you can look at all of them and say, oh, they were great. They were really, really great. But that term of GOAT, greatest of all time, I think Valentino is definitely, he's got my vote. What does he have? I don't know. I wish I could tell you. Because if I knew, then I'd try some of it. The guy's got a determination and a will like no other. Everything he does is kind of undercover. They don't see a lot of the stuff that goes into what he does. They just see him roll out of the motorhome, he rolls in the garage, he goes out and gets pole position and goes back to his motorhome, and that's kind of what everybody thinks, but he spends a lot of time working. It's like a kid playing in the sandbox. Doesn't get riled up, doesn't really seem like he's out there busting his ass to It just seems natural. You're just kind of playing around. And I feel like when I'm out there and I'm riding good, I'm busting my ass, you know? I mean, I'm putting everything I got into doing it.
As for the fact that Rossi has never been to Laguna Seca before,
He'll find a way to learn the track. He'll get behind somebody that is not paying attention, and 2 o'clock on Sunday, he's gonna be there. Doesn't really matter what track you go to, he's still gonna be there.
towards the end of second practice, all the top riders have gone faster than they did in the morning, except Rossi. He's down in 10th.
We have some problem now. This morning was good, but this afternoon we try something quite bad for the setting, so we need to improve tomorrow.
Hopkins and Edwards are 5th and 6th. Number 69 is number 1.
Yeah, everybody wants to know why my number's 69. So everybody wants to hear this wild, kinky story. It was my dad's number back in the day, and he was a pretty wild racer and was upside down a lot in fences and gravel traps. And they say they always knew who it was, even when his bike was upside down. Racing's been something that's been in my family's blood, and it's always been a family thing. We didn't really go to Disney World or, to the water park. We went to the track and rode our bikes.
Nicky Hayden inherited his racing genes from his mother as well as his father.
My dad used to train thoroughbred racehorses. He raced and she raced, and he joked that he was always trying to get the bloodline right.
So I wanted to get me a fast girl. I've raced for 20 years, and my wife raced for 5 years. My wife's a lot faster than I was.
I rode a 125 Honda on dirt. It was powder puff, and it was all girls.
It's my brother's show over here, so I'm running 1-2 in the 600 championships.
Nicky's older brother Tommy and younger brother Roger Lee are both competing at Laguna in the AMA National Championships, which Nicky won before moving to MotoGP. Tommy is reigning US Supersport champion, with Roger Lee just behind him in the rankings. It looks like things have worked out for the family.
You always think about it, wouldn't it be nice? That's what they would love to do. But, this is such a hard thing. And what made it really good was we did it as a family.
Friday night got out of school, we would take off in like Texas, it's say 1,000 miles. I'd drive all night and get there. They'd sleep all night and get up, and then we'd practice, say, Saturday and race Sunday. Sunday afternoon, 4 o'clock, I'd take off, drive back, and wake them up, time to take a shower, and go to school on Monday. We raced at least 35 times a year, and sometimes 40 times a year, so it's not many weekends off. People thought I'd make them race. Oh, their daddy pushes them, makes them race. I had to make them brush their teeth, make them take a bath. It wasn't like I had to make them race.
I wanted to race against the best guys in the world. That's where I've wanted to be since I could talk.
Chasing a dream, maybe 5 years old.
It's got to come from yourself, you got to be the one to make the sacrifices and be the one ready to hang it out and get it done.
When Nicky was about 11 years old, we went to a race that wasn't 15 miles from here, and he made about $1,200, and we couldn't believe it. I mean, get paid to do this stuff. There wasn't many of those. Most time it was Mama and Papa. Every dollar, 95 cents went to racing. It's all part of paying your dues. If you don't go do that, you're not going to be MotoGP.
The financial tide turned for Nicky on his 16th birthday. He was old enough and good enough to be offered a contract in the AMA National Championships.
They're going to furnish all bikes parts. Bikes are going to show up, and all we had to do then is get ourselves there. It's like Santa Claus.
5 years and countless race wins later, Hayden was number 1 in the USA at the age of 21. The following year, 2003, he was off to MotoGP. John Hopkins is the youngest of the MotoGP riders at Laguna, just 22, but already in his 4th year in the World Championship.
I just knew I wanted to do it. Parents never said, oh, you got to go Grand Prix, you got to go Grand Prix, or you got to do this if you want to be a Grand Prix rider, and stuff like that. It was just basically one thing at a time.
Hey, Doug. Good, how are you? Actually, I met you before, 5 years ago or something, when you were a rider or Yoshimura Suzuki, John's team, right?
John Ulrich, yeah.
When John was 11, his future as a racer was thrown into doubt by the loss of his father after a long illness. The lifeline Hopkins needed came from AMA team owner John Ulrich. who discovered 1993 world champion Kevin Schwantz and saw similar promise in Hopkins. At the age of 18, he delivered, winning the 2001 AMA Formula Extreme Championship. Hopkins made no secret of his Grand Prix ambitions, and in the same year, Ulrich secured a test for him with the Red Bull Yamaha Grand Prix team. In 2002, Hopkins found himself where he wanted to be, racing in the World Championships. But in the years that have followed, the results he dreamed of have not materialized. Unlike Edwards and Hayden, he has yet to stand on a MotoGP podium. Few in the Grand Prix paddock doubt his ability, but a combination of inferior machinery and injuries have undermined his efforts. He's fully fit at Laguna, but 2005 began the way no rider wants, in rehab after major surgery. It wasn't because of a MotoGP injury. The operation was to remove a titanium rod from his femur, the legacy of a car crash a decade earlier, and also to take out some metalwork in his ankles, which he broke in a motocross accident in the winter of 2003.
John suffered through a major injury. He recovered very rapidly. The resiliency of these guys is one thing that I'm always amazed at. And they have a phenomenal pain threshold. In other words, things that would bother the normal person doesn't faze these guys. It's been over 20 years of experience that I've watched this. And I know what the average person requires for something similar, who gets in a one-time motor vehicle accident but breaks his collarbone.
Hopkins come in casual, just the way he is, and hey, get it done. I don't have time, you know, I gotta go. And he proved it. He was so fat that you just like make your job so easy.
I think Nicky had a collarbone fracture that he was recovering from.
I'm healthy, I mean, for the most part. I mean, sure, I have some things that, you know, still hurt. The year before I got hurt in Italy, I was out kind of training, riding super motard, and broke my collarbone and my knee, and man, that was kind of not the most fun day of my life. They opened me up, put a plate and 7 screws in my collarbone, and I rode Japan 2 weeks later. And it didn't feel too good, but once you get on the bike, it goes away.
While Hayden was struggling with his knee and shoulder injuries in Japan in 2004, Hopkins was fit and looking forward to a strong race after qualifying in the front row. Loris Caparossi's wayward Ducati dashed his hopes at the first corner.
I broke 3 ribs. I had a foot peg go straight up my backside. Gave me 8 stitches. I got into the medical center. They said, oh, well, what problems do you have? And I said, well, it's just my ribs. And they're like, all right, you sure nothing else hurts? And I said, no, I'm all right. Everything's fine. I sit up in a complete puddle of blood. And they go, I think you have a little more than a scratch.
These bikes ain't toys. And there is times you're gonna crash, so I mean, you need to be able to, you know, take a good licking sometimes.
It's like Darwin's theory, survival of the fittest. I think the injury thing selects them out. Kids that can heal faster and recover faster and have higher pain thresholds end up going to the higher levels of motorcycle racing.
The extreme focus athlete, they're a totally different breed than the rest.
Yeah, it could cost them their life.
The protective equipment the riders wear and the trackside runoff areas and air fences help, but the best form of protection is staying on the bike. Rossi and Edwards each fell just once in 2004. Rossi has only paid 1 visit to the Fremont Clinic in recent years with a fractured thumb.
Just about every year in MotoGP, you know, knock on wood, I've been fit. I've never been a crasher in the first place. Through 11 years of young motocross, I think I only had 2 broken bones. That's not really normal. Just never been a crasher. I think I knew it hurt.
How many hills? 1. Wow, how long is the hill? A couple miles. Yeah, remember, nice and slow.
6 races into the season and 6 months after the operation, John Hopkins is in the best shape of his MotoGP career.
MotoGP, you want to be as strong as possible and yet as light as possible. The week before a race, when I'm cycling, I truly visualize every corner on that track and what my braking markers are, where to get on the throttle, what lines to take, who I'm going to be riding against, where I want to be at. So it all goes through my head.
A lot of racing motorcycles is all in your head, it's just mind over matter, and training also helps you get ready to be able to fight when you get in a battle and the pace is hot. I'm looking for any edge I can get.
You've got to learn how to push your body. If you can push yourself saying, I know I can do this, I know I can win this race, I'm going to go in that corner a little bit faster.
There's a huge mental component to racing, huge. Sure, that's too easy. It's the intangible things. Like they say, you either have it or you don't. Preparation, training enhance one's potential. You have to do everything and have the genetics, so to speak.
I guess it was 99. I'd got the bicycle. I got the bicycle somewhere. Oh, it's over there in the corner, tucked away. Did the 20 miles a day and get up at 6:30 in the morning and trained and went to the gym. And Fogarty still kicked my ass in the superbike. So I thought, screw that. That was a lot of work for nothing. And then the next year, I basically did the opposite. I just had fun going out on the water and wakeboarding and motocrossing and playing lots of golf, and went out there and won the championship. So at that point, I just kind of decided it's in your head, and it is. This is our go-kart building. We got about 12 go-karts in here, and we just get crazy. Sometimes if it gets too easy, then we do no brakes, so you have to basically steer on the throttle only, and then we'll do one hand, no brakes, and we kind of mix it up a little bit, make it fun. I was always strong and always was doing something that I was active. And I never really felt mentally like I was missing anything, like I had to have that physical training to be mentally fit, kind of works hand in hand. Whenever you do train, you kind of set yourself up for failure in a way as well, because if you miss a day, then you go to the track, I missed Tuesday, I really should have done this, I should have done that, and there, you already have that doubt in your head. So I just discount all that bullshit. We stay in shape. You're on the bike, I don't know how many days a year it would be. Probably 1 in 3. You stay fit. Can't help but stay fit. Whenever I'm working, and whenever I'm not working, I'm here having a good time playing with my family.
You promised me you'd win this race.
I did? All right. I don't want to let nobody down.
I think Nicky's got a lot of pressure on him.
What's happening, girl?
And I hope he just doesn't overdo it, because he's got a lot of the Americans pulling for him.
All right, thanks, girl.
A couple of months before the race, People magazine named Hayden one of America's 50 hottest bachelors. Then he took part in a dating game on the Today Show.
They brought a couple of us in, a country singer and an NFL football player.
Hayden won.
I got a hard time from my boys back home. They let me hear about that. We'd be eating lunch or something, a hot girl would be there, go on, go talk to her, you're the hottest bachelor, but I don't know, it didn't seem to help too much. I didn't seem to see any raise in the numbers. Some of these countries we go to really have some beautiful girls. It's a shame we don't go to Brazil anymore. A lot of talent in Brazil, that's for sure, but to be honest, and this ain't just a line, I don't want to be a paddock playboy and be out chasing honeys all the time. I want to win races.
The pressure on Hayden has been building for 2.5 years.
When I got to Europe, new kid come in from America, get a good ride. They want to see you fail. Maybe I got a little chip on my shoulder now, want to prove them wrong.
I remember when he first started out in MotoGP, I kept telling him, I said, hey, where are you at? I didn't see you on TV, You got to be in the top 3 to be on TV. He said, I'm trying.
Then people pays big money and they expect you to be on TV, be on the box, win. He's been used to winning most of his life.
I don't think it's cutting it that Nicky hasn't been on the podium yet this year with the machine that he's running.
I like the guy and enjoy his company, and we are friends, but I think he's had enough time to regularly be winning.
After Friday's 3 hours of practice, the top 10 riders are less than a second apart. It doesn't sound like much, but at 150 miles an hour, a second is over 50 yards. Lose a second a lap, and you'll be a mile behind after 32 laps. The race is 32.
They have a lot of problems. It's very difficult to arrive at the right setting in this track. This track is particular compared to the other track around the world. Like a little bit worse than before, too much push on the tire.
And also another thing important. For turn 6, here, go up, brake. When the track go a little bit down, I need always to wait because I don't feel the rear.
Did you change something on the front too?
Yeah.
I didn't think either end felt as good. It felt like, for one, over the hill, turn 1, it got too loose. When I went up, it felt like it kicked it. What did you change exactly?
There's no such thing as a perfect motorcycle. In some places it's really good, in other places it's still not perfect, but if you make it really good in another place, it messes it up somewhere else.
Also in the corkscrew, when I went like this in the top, it felt real light in the back.
Okay.
It didn't feel like the change even helped the chatter. Chatter's a mysterious thing, you know, when you get it, how you get it, and different ways of affecting it. But basically, it's just where the track has rolling bumps, the suspension not following the bumps. It feels miserable. Can't carry good corner speed with it. Tires aren't planted.
We're just trying to fix that without the detriment of losing grip or anything anywhere else.
And obviously, suspension's probably the biggest way, and the rider, you know, how you release the clutch, how you feed the clutch out. A lot of times you actually open the throttle back up to put a little bit of tension on the chain and the swing arm, and that helps take away chatter.
With 20 minutes of practice left, the teams are still trying new tyres. Not necessarily because the riders want to.
We don't have enough for this afternoon.
Yes, because you need to compare in the race condition, you know.
Yeah, what are we doing with the old one now? Why another one? Why more?
Because, no, we can't stop with a new one, but we're not going to learn anything.
We're their test riders. They have 20 different tires that they want information on, and if you don't test it, well, they're not going to get any information on it. They're always going to be pushing to test this tire, test this one, test this one, and basically a rider comes to a point to where, hey, I've tested 10 tires, I found the one that I want. You know, let's just roll with that, and it can come to that sometimes.
There is no magic setup, and that's the thing. You still got to ride the bike, and when the light goes out on race day, you got to dig in and fight with whatever you got.
At the end of the day, bike preparation is only half the story. Rider preparation is the other half. With practice and repetition, the physical inputs involved in riding a MotoGP bike flat out around any given circuit become automatic. Like a musician mastering an intricate solo or a gymnast performing a complex routine, the rider is not consciously thinking about his actions. At the best of times, he enters the altered state of the zone, where the laws of physics and mortality no longer seem to apply.
It just clicks. Everything works, you don't have any complaints. You get in the zone and you just feel like nobody can stop you, and that's what it takes, you know, to win races. And once you get in that zone, you become superhuman. Sometimes you'll lose the front, whereas normally you might go, whoa, that was close. When you're in the zone, it's no big deal. You just pop it up off the knee and keep going around the corner, you don't lose any time.
The weirdest things can pop into your mind, not about riding. Then you're going flat out and the focus is just 100%, yet you're able to just concentrate on other things. What I'm gonna have for dinner, what time the flight is the next morning, what I'm gonna do the next week in England. When that happens, that's when I'm always riding the best of my ability.
At the end of Saturday morning practice, Hopkins is up to third, behind Bayliss and Hayden. Bayliss makes a last-minute push for the top spot. Edwards is 6th, Rossi 5th. He's now the fastest rookie on the track. Laguna is filling up. Fans, friends, family, celebrities, everyone's here.
I got my whole crew. Both of my sisters are here, and my mom, my dad.
Nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles, mom, sister, high school friends, you know, everyone that's in my family here in America.
We had probably 30 people out there, probably more than that. It was a little intense.
At Laguna, Alicia is pregnant with the Edwards' second child. If it's a boy, will he be a racer?
I would much
The main event on Saturday is the qualifying session, which determines how the riders line up on the grid for the race.
Big target now, get towards the front of the grid, because I think around here with the flowing nature of the track and the S-bends, it's going to be real tough to pass. So we need to qualify the bikes in the first couple of rows and get away with the front guys.
Some tracks you can start second or third row and it's no drama, but here you need to be on that front row.
Valentino Rossi is a really cool guy, so kind of pulling for both of them.
Colin Edwards! Oh, Colin all the way. He's been holding back all day. A little low on the board, but he'll be there race time.
As much as I love Rossi, I'd like to see the Hayden guy get a podium place too. Although the mom must feel nervous every time they race.
What I think about the whole time is, you know, like for them to be safe. It's never over with until that checker flag drops.
Never really got to see the family, but you know in the back of your head that they're there.
I think it's crazy that the speeds they're coming down the corkscrew in, but it doesn't surprise me because he's always been like this and he's always raced motorcycles.
For the first half of the session, the teams keep working on the race setup. The real action is in the last 20 minutes, when they put on the super sticky qualifying tires.
They're made to give the riders the maximum potential, but on the other hand, we cannot keep that maximum potential for a long time. They're built to last only one lap.
Qualifying tires are fun. They're only good for one lap, but with that one lap, you can carry so much more corner speed.
Fire will stick, but I have a bad habit every now and then of flicking you.
The lap consists of just closing your eyes and just hoping for the best, really.
Come on, baby, go! He's flying. He's flying. Oh, he's dreamed about this. Come on, do it, John.
I think here we had 3 qualifiers, if I remember right. Went out with the first one, it was terrible. Hardly went faster than I did on my race tire. I put that second one on, and when I got to about turn 3, it felt good.
I stopped after my first qualifying tire. I see the lap time of Nicky was not so bad. But with the second qualifying, we did a very good job.
It's an awesome feeling. I mean, I can't even tell you how cool it is to see all the flags and banners. You know, the last couple of years, I see all these guys at their home track, and I think, man, how cool that must be.
Saturday, the Kentucky kids on top, right?
Colin Edwards' qualifying run was spoilt by a mix-up in the garage. The new front tire he needed went missing.
Just a wrong call with some tire stuff there at the end and left an old front on. I was lucky to pull out the lap I did.
There's a short practice session on Sunday morning. One last chance to make adjustments. At the end of the session, the riders stop out on the track to practice their race starts. Many of the teams are experimenting with electronic launch control, but the new technology doesn't seem to be too reliable.
We've done start after start, and we're trying to get this bike to get off the line really good. You know, Valentino will tell you the same. We had a couple bad starts.
He was always such a good starter. Good start and get out front right away, but in MotoGP, he's just been having hell with it.
Getting them off the line is definitely hard. You can't just smoke the clutch because they're not really designed for that. I mean, the first gear in the bike is designed to run 70 mile an hour or something. Launch control is coming in, and there's definitely some teams running that sort of thing, but we still pretty much do the old-fashioned way. The hardest thing is just to try to get the power down without the thing wanting to stand up and wheelie.
Between the warm-up and the race at 2 o'clock, the riders faced the longest 3.5 hours of the weekend.
Right after morning warm-up to the start of the race is the most intense time. I don't like to be bothered and then just do my regular pre-race warm-up. Listen to some good music. Being relaxed is the most important thing there is to do. You start getting anxiety and then it's just going to take a toll on your body.
I mean, I don't mind being around people, but I definitely ain't in no mood to make no small talk. Once we get closer to start, do some stretching, and I have a stationary bicycle on my motorhome. I normally ride that to warm up and get my heart rate going a bit.
I'm the opposite. I don't know if it's a form of meditation or what it is, but I get trance-like or sleepy. I think it's just to calm down. But once I get on the bike, I'm ready though.
While the MotoGP riders are in their motorhomes, Hayden's brother Tommy is out in the track, leading the Superstock race, about to lap some slower riders.
Everything was going really good.
Contact with the number 811 Sky Girard out of Palmdale, California, sends the leader into the gravel. Tumbling almost to the air fence, Tommy Hayden taking a big spill.
Then Tommy gets hurt. But then you worry about Nicky. Is this going to affect Nicky's ride? You're worrying, is Tommy okay?
My brother broke his hand. I was so bummed for him. Actually helped me before the race to, you know, quit thinking about the start and everything else. And before the race, I was actually quite relaxed.
I knew Nicky was going to be strong, and I knew Valentino would be strong. Those are two things I was certain of.
I knew how important it was for him. He had so much pressure to do really well for that race. It was a little scary. I was in the garage because it's just so much more intense in there. The team's in there, everybody's in there. The reactions, it's awesome.
Colin's times on race tires were better than most. I was thinking he was going to fight for the win.
You know, after you've done it for 13 years, you don't really get butterflies until before the start of the race, you know, sitting on the grid.
If you wasn't nervous, I mean, it wouldn't mean nothing. 60,000 people, live TV all over the world. I mean, if that don't give you goosebumps, you got issues. And then you get these stars like Brad Pitt on the starting line telling you good luck and you're on pole and you've been fastest all week. I didn't want to choke then. I felt the pressure.
I was just feeling good. I was pumped. I wanted to get the race going. I knew I could ride to my full ability. I was healthy. I was fit.
It's game time. When they pull the tire warmers off, when they fire the engines, and that feeling is what I live for.
Everyone around you has done everything they can. Now it's time for you to go out and do what you have to do, alone.
Before the start, the riders go out on a single warm-up lap. One last chance to check everything's okay with the bikes and the track.
I normally go pretty hard on my sighting lap, you know, to get the tires up to temperature, get the brakes up to temperature, get your mind moving fast.
For a minute, it's eerily quiet on the start line.
Kathleen and Jenny and I, we were watching Earl.
My daughter, she's an RN nurse, and she said, just make sure, Dad, you remember to keep breathing.
We was more worried about him than we were worried about Nick. Because I didn't know if Earl was going to have a stroke or something.
They're expecting you to win. I mean, these people gas Repsol. It's about winning. It's not about, hey, I got third or I got whatever. So it was just so big for Nick. And I knew how bad he wanted it and how hard he was working.
I'm just like, hurry up and get it over with. You know, we'll go home and watch it on TV.
He's already opened up a gap on Troy Bayliss.
I'm just focused. You don't feel nothing, see nobody, hear nothing. It's just you and the track. That's a good feeling right here.
Hayden's dream is Edward's nightmare.
I got a shitty start. I remember coming up over turn 1 and I had a Ducati on one handlebar, like wedged in between a Ducati and a Cowie or something. I was sandwiched and they were just carrying me over the hill. I thought, oh shit, this could turn out bad.
Rossi is third behind Bayliss, who got a great jump from the second row.
Unfortunately, Bayliss started in front of me, and at the beginning was very, very slow. And straight away I lost 1 second from Nicky on the first lap.
Going into turn 4, Bayliss runs wide and Rossi dives through. In turn 11, Gibernau pushes Checa wide, and Edwards follows him past the Ducati. Behind him, Marco Melandri tries to get past Alex Barros on the brakes. Edwards is oblivious, his eyes on the bikes in front.
Obviously the pack, now they're a good 15 bike lengths in front of us. And I saw Nicky starting to check out. I thought, oh gosh, I'm just making it really hard for myself.
I came around the first lap and seen my board, plus I knew I had something for him. Didn't know who got a good start, who got what. You know, I mean, I was still nervous.
His father is nervous too, worried that Nicky might have jumped the start.
Most time one guy don't get that kind of a jump. I was hoping it wasn't too good.
His other worry is the man behind Nicky.
You don't want Valentino to have to try to hold him off. 7-time world champion or something. You don't want to make him. He's always got a little something extra.
You can never count Rossi out. I expected him to be the toughest challenge, and I know he don't like losing.
I try to follow him, but today he's very strong, and in some part of the track he's faster than me.
I didn't want to let him get too close to see where I was fast. Some of my lines and some of the things I was doing good. There was a few things I learned from following Doug Chandler around there back in the day. When I rode 600, like getting through Rainy Curve, there's one bump there, and that's the same line I've used since I was 16.
Corner of everything.
Up at the front, Hayden is monitoring the gap to Rossi.
Rossi, a lot of times he don't like the lead, so when I seen him back there, I knew that he might just be waiting till the last few laps. I was gonna have to be ready to hang it out. Once I started being fastest at the end of the first day, second day fastest, and then to get on pole by a pretty big gap. If I didn't win that race, I was gonna look like a choke artist. I didn't like to think I'd buckle under the pressure, and I didn't want to buckle that weekend for sure.
Lap 9. Hayden first, Rossi second, Edwards third. Gibernau and Checa have got past Hopkins. He's now 8th, wondering how to counterattack the Ducati in front of him.
The Ducati is probably the hardest bike to pass because of its sheer grunt horsepower.
Checa.
You know, I mean, obviously I wanted to win my home Grand Prix. I was happy for Nicky at the same time. You know, he's worked hard. I've known Nicky since he was 8 years old. To be there and be part of 2 Americans, 1-2 at the Grand Prix was a memorable experience for sure.
Throughout the weekend, so you know, it's good to see 2 Americans on the 1 and 2 at the home GP, but just wish it was me. I was actually very disappointed at the end of the race because where I finished, I was very disappointed. But then I looked back at it and went through it all in my mind and basically just said, I did everything I could. I honestly did everything I could at Laguna.
That was probably the best feeling, is just winning again. You know, it'd been hard, and when you're used to winning every week and winning a lot, and then when you get beat, you know, it's tough. And you keep bouncing back mentally and putting everything into it and staying focused, staying hungry. You just forget how good it felt to win, and that's probably why I was so happy. It was definitely the happiest day of my life, just to stand on that podium again and just to win. And that day was my day.